Hello, everyone. It is Thursday, May 27th, 2021, 11:57 p.m., and this is my bedtime summary of my day. I just realized I haven't laid out my blanket. See what I do every day? I put my blankets over here so I can go under them to do my voice acting, and then I don't do my voice acting, and then I've got to move them back to the bed so I can go to sleep, which is a pain in the butt. I should probably get an extra blanket and just, actually, there's another blanket I really like. This one, I don't know where it came from, but it's kind of silky, and so I like to have it here. When I was a kid, we had some blankets that were just kind of felt material, but at the end of the blanket, like just the rim, it was like this silk. It was like stitched on. It was this smooth, silky material. And I used to say to my mom, like, "Oh, I want the end," and that would mean like, I don't know, bring the silky part up to me. Okay, so Kathleen says, "How's your hand?" The hand. Oh wait, I can't turn it here. Hold on. It's not bad. Oh, that reminds me. Yeah, I want to put on. I've got some vitamin E cream, so I'll put on a bit more there. And that's that. What else? So this morning, I woke up, I think at 8, and I had turned on the podcast. I don't know. I'd gone to bed around 11, or maybe the podcast started around 10:30. So that was kind of 9 hours sleep. So I was like, okay, that's good. And then I was like, don't get up. Don't look at your phone. Don't look at your phone. Just get up and go for a run right away. But then I was like, I had some kind of intense dreams about this guy I used to work with. And so I filmed myself telling the dream story while I was opening the blinds. And then, I don't know, somehow I just sat there for a while. I didn't get upstairs till like 1 o'clock. I thought I heard a girl's voice upstairs, or a woman. And I'm like, who's that? I don't know. Maybe I have somebody visiting. And then when I came up 1, my sister, Diana, was playing Scrabble with my dad. I'm like, oh, or sitting at the table at least. And I'm like, when did you get here? Oh, like 10 o'clock or 10:30. I'm like, what? Okay. But I guess she napped on the couch for some of that. But yeah, that's pretty ridiculous that I couldn't. If I had just gotten right up at 8, I could have gone for a jog. I could have seen my sister. It's all ridiculous. So then I was about to go for a run, but then I thought, okay, well, I want to do what I was going to do last time, but I didn't because I had to come downstairs and look for my sunglasses, and I didn't want to delay my parents. But I said, okay, I'll come for the ride, because my dad invited my mom, and she's like, well, I don't have anything else to do, so I got no excuse, so I'll come for the ride. And and then I said, okay, I'm going to come for a ride, and you can drop me. I'll just run back. And they're like, well, that's a long run. I'm like, well, I've walked it before. But my mom's like, oh, well, we're going to the library, and then we can drop you sort of near the farm or something. You can run through the farm. Because she used to run from here across the city to her work at the Ottawa Citizen, and then run back after work or whatever. And so she said, we'll drop you at the path, and you can run through the path, and then there's a traffic circle, and then you go over the mountain. I'm like, the mountain? Well, kind of a hill, and then you go through the farm, and then you go to Dow's Lake, and then you go along the canal. So I did that all, and I listened to some podcasts about social media marketing, and it was quite delightful. And there was this redheaded woman walking her dog, and I guess I sort of looked over, and then the dog's like, "Rah!" and like started barking, and she's like, oh, sorry, and she's trying to pull it back, this big scary dog. And I was like, ooh, and then I thought, well, maybe I should have tried to pet the dog, but you know what, I haven't had good experiences with dogs the past couple of days. When that barking dog behind the house, when I went to pet it, it was fine. The dog was loving me, but then I realized I was getting blood all over the dog with my hand, and I thought, that's not good. The dog doesn't need to be covered with my blood. Although maybe that's my new thing. Maybe that's how I mark my territory. So that was it. That was my run, and that was it. And then so I got back around 3:30 to the house, and then my dad, I guess my mom was out, or maybe she was upstairs. My dad's like, your mom says we can do 2 things. We can either have leftover stew and rice, or we can order pizza. Any preference? I'm like, either's fine. He's like, I'm thinking I'd like the pizza. I'm like, this is a shock, yeah. Okay, so, well, what do you want? Like, your mom says don't get she doesn't like the Thai. And we've gotten the Thai the past few times because it says pineapple on it, and she did actually like it before. But I guess she's done with the Thai. And I'm like, well, she likes vegetarian. Yeah, she wants to get it without meat unless it's chicken. I'm like, well, get a vegetarian and get whatever you want. Okay. Uh, and then he wound up getting like a feta pizza. And anyways, so he picked it up at 6. I was downstairs. I guess I was just looking at my emails and stuff. Because now it's like, oh, there's not really enough time to get into voice acting or anything. And then at 7, so this was the night of speed dating. I had a lot of speed dating. I'm just going to get through my story and then I'll address all your questions, everybody. So let's see, it's 7 o'clock. What speed dating was there? Normally, there's that speed dating that, sometimes I host it. Last night I hosted the Atlanta one. Tonight was the Toronto one. But I had something else to do. Oh, that's right, Isodate. So this other guy that runs that company, he emailed me. He emailed and said that they ticket, somebody bailed and he could give me a ticket for the Jewish Montreal Toronto speed dating. So I was like, all right, I'll do that. And so I did that. There's actually only 4 women in it, but it was fine. They were nice, I guess. And then, but I didn't match with anyone. And then, what did I do? Oh, then I skipped over to the couple speed dating that, and I went on a couple of dates. But then what I realized afterwards, I logged out because I had to go somewhere else. And then I'm like, oh, crap. Like, you need to stay for the event and then click that you confirm about the dates. I should have just stayed in there. Nuts. Anyways, so then at 8 o'clock I had dashing date, which every time they do an event, they text me and they keep texting. They text, are you buying a ticket? You're buying a ticket? Fine. So I bought a ticket. And this was like 8 women and 7 men. And then again, I didn't match with anyone. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not, I know I'm not Brad Pitt or whatever, but I don't understand. I think maybe they sense that they're not the women for me when I tell them about my green screen and my comedy and everything. They probably just want you to say I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, and that's it. So whatever. I don't need any of them. Yeah, David Kessler says you need to get the L word, Josh. Yeah, I know. So then I then I joined the after party for the couple thing, but at the same time I had a couple of calls on the Filter Off app, and I think this was Black Singles Night, and I was only able to talk to one woman. The other ones I was busy with dashing date on, but yeah, this woman I matched with. So I do well with black women, and I do well on Filter Off. So I guess you just got to know your niche, right? Who would have thought? I remember there was this girl, Dawn, in my university residence. Actually, let me think. No, she did like me at some point. She had a huge crush on me. So maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Because I know Dawn dated black guys, but I guess I remember she massaged my hand once when we were going on like a field trip, like a ski trip or something. That was nice. Nobody's ever massaged my hands. I keep looking her up. If anybody knows Dawn Cox, C-O-X, find her. Maybe she's like, I should look her up again. I think she wanted to go to prom with me, or there was something. Anyways, God, I miss university so much. Those 4 quick years were just so great. I mean, they weren't great all the time, but looking back, it's like, why can't life always be like that? Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, there was this other girl in residence who only dated black guys. I just didn't understand that. Like, she was white and that was her thing. And I was like, that's just so weird. Like, why? I mean, not to do it, but to only like that. But then I met a girl in my old condo, like a different condo, that only dated Filipino guys, like very specific. People just have their thing, I guess. I, fortunately, am open to everyone, and yet no one likes me. So, all right, so that's the summary of the night. And then I was like, I should just go right to bed. It's 10 o'clock, go right to bed. Oh, I got to do my story. So then I was like, oh. And then I'm like, well, maybe I'll have a quick snack. I'll go up and drink some water. But then I had some yogurt with all my seeds in it, and then some cheese and a couple of pitas, and now I feel disgusting. I should not have eaten that much. And that's why my weight is not going anywhere. It said my scale today when I weighed myself, it says, your weight has been steady. Like, it's exactly the same, still 184 pounds. I'm like, I'm supposed to be melting it away. But you're not going to get melting it away by eating pita and cheese just before bed every night. So that's it. That's my story. Let me scroll through your comments. How's your hand? Cal told Kathleen it's fine. Kathleen says you'll live. Yeah. Daisy says good morning from the Philippines. Good morning, Daisy. I know it's noon there, so hope you're having a good lunch or whatever. Claire says hello. Daisy says ha ha ha. Are you sleeping? Well, I'm about to go sleeping because it's midnight here in Ottawa, Canada. Napa says hello. David says you need to get blanked, Josh. LOL. Ami says, I second Dave. Dave just got back from a date in D.C. where ratio is 5-1 in favor of men. Yeah, I remember when I went to APAC, the Israeli conference in D.C., and that's the first time I met Ami in person. I stayed on his couch one night, and he took me to some Jewish singles event in a bar, and I remember being like, there were so many beautiful women that were so interesting and creative. I was just like, and I feel like they were just like, oh, you don't live in the city, and I was like, I gotta come back. I remember thinking, I gotta come back to all these women. These were like better, amazing, better women than I'd ever seen in Toronto or anywhere. And I have never gone back. Ami says, Dave's does not do online speed dating. The only speed in Dave's dates are the speed in which they move from the bar to... How do I make this bigger? See more. How do I see the rest of the comment? Bar to Dave's den of sin. Oh, God. Josh has his own fetishes. Yeah, no, I remember Dave. He was on the Costa Rica trip with me like 5-6 years ago. And he just left the trip early because he's like, I don't like any of the women. And he just went into the city in San Jose and just went on Tinder and started meeting women. And I felt like I needed to see through the trip. I'm like, no, I got to persevere, but maybe I should have gone with him. I don't know. Josh has his own fetishes, says David. Do I? I don't even know. Watch the Miami Vice, Josh. I don't know what that means, but I'm live right now. In my feed, it came up Philip Michael Thomas on Instagram, who played, I don't know, Crockett and Tubbs. Who was, yeah, I guess Sonny Crockett was, what's his name? Come on, Miami Vice. Anyways, the white guy, and then the black guy was Philip Michael Thomas. So I looked at, because it's his birthday, I guess. He was born in 49, so what is he, 73 now? And then, but he's only got 9,000 followers on Instagram. He doesn't even have a blue check mark. I'm like, this guy was on Miami Vice. Don Johnson, that's the other guy. I basically dressed as Don Johnson for my grade 8 prom. And then, so he's only got 9,000 followers, and then he's got a son who's got 19,000 Instagram followers, and his son's Instagram is the Philip Michael. And I'm like, what is that? Is that like a fan page? Is that like a band like that's named after Philip Michael Thomas? But no, he's named his son Philip Michael Jr. And then he's got a daughter, Philip Michael Thomas? Something Thomas, India Thomas or something. Anyways, it's all interesting. Like a lot of his pictures are him, in the 80s. But then he's got pictures of him, I guess, recently with like giant white beards and stuff, and it's all very disconcerting. All right, so Ami says Memory Lane May is nearly over. Yep. When I post my dream summary from this morning, you'll see that I'm so living in the past. But yeah, we only got a couple more days, and then it's Jubilant June. It's all positivity. No more moaning about university. Let's see. David says Costa Rica, baby. Yeah, I want to go with you. And then he says something rude. And then Feli says, hello, how are you? I'm good, thank you. See, you can tell the people from the Philippines because they all seem to have Spanish names. And I thought that was weird. I'm like, why is everybody in the Philippines named like Hernandez and whatever? But I was reading that they were colonized by, or I guess the Spanish. I guess the Spanish were in there. So that's why everybody's named like a Spanish name. It's kind of interesting because you'd think they're all Asian. Why, Interesting. Yes, Tubbs. Crockett and Tubbs. Crockett. Don Johnson. Exactly. He's on Instagram. Don Johnson. Yep. 84 to 89. So, okay, there's our Miami Vice trivia. Here's me doing the Miami Vice song. I'm going to get this confused with like the Beverly Hills Cop song. Let's see, because it's the boat. It's the speedboat on the water. No, that's the Knight Rider. Okay, so that's... No. Okay, so I started off with Knight Rider and went into Dallas. So Knight Rider is... Oh, wait, here's Knight Rider. And then there's lights going in the car. And then Dallas is... No. Dun, 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 dun. So that's Dallas. And I had a ghetto blaster that came with like a tape deck, like a tape that I guess you were supposed to play as like a sample or something. And it was the theme song for Dallas for some reason. I just remember that. Miami Vice would have been like, do, 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 do. I don't know. It was drums, something to do with drums, but it wasn't. It wasn't Phil Collins playing it. It was some Yanni or like some guy like that, like who's got a name. Probably starts with Z. Good night, Mitz Kabatingen. I love it. I love all these names. And so and then David put a YouTube link. It's probably the Miami Vice theme song. And then Hernaez Erica says hearts, thank you. Ami says colonized by Spain and then the U.S., of course. Yeah. Woo! USA. USA. All right, so that's my nightly summary. It's Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday, so, that's your last chance to buy stocks for the week or, I guess, to do your job or to do whatever. Nadia Alaya Lopez says, hello, Josh. Usually I'm asleep by now. Okay, so Lopez, but that's not... she's not Filipino, because, well, Filipina, first of all, because she is saying she's usually asleep by now, and it's noon in the Philippines. But secondly, I think I recognize her from Instagram. I think she's the doctor that I posted about once that messaged me and said she loves my stories, and I inspire her to go after her dreams because I talk about my own regrets. I'm not sure how that works, but I'm glad it does. And yeah, so that's it. And then Mihits Kabatingan says, watching from Singapore. Hello, Josh. How are you? Hello, Singapore. Yeah, Singapore. I've never been there. What do I know about Singapore? I think that's where the movie Crazy Rich Asians took place. That's all I know. So yeah, so it's kind of the rich. I mean, maybe not everybody's rich in Singapore, but it looks rich. It looks fancy. As opposed to when I video chat with people in the Philippines, everybody seems to live in sort of, I don't want to call them huts, but it's like the walls are just kind of like brick concrete, kind of like an industrial, like they don't really have roofs, like just metal over the bricks, and like dirt floors. So Singapore, at least in the movie Crazy Rich Asians, it looked like a big theme park. So there you go. And I don't know what's happening with Hong Kong. China's taken over, so it's not a big party there. But we don't want to say anything rude about China because then, like John Cena, will have to apologize to China, lest they not let us screen Fast and Furious 9 there or something. So Nadia says, Mexican, but I am in Baltimore. Okay, well, hola. Que pasa? Buenos dias. I don't know what I just said, and that's basically all my Spanish. Yeah, so Baltimore. I guess are you doing your PhD in Baltimore, or maybe you're already a doctor and now you're just doing scientific research, curing cancer, whatever you're doing. That's good. Oh yeah, did I tell you? So I told you I can't get my tetanus shot because they don't want to give it to you at the same time or within 14 days of you getting your COVID or before it. And then, yeah, one woman said, when I was telling a woman in the speed dating about my tetanus, she's like, oh, but they're going to ask you the COVID. And I thought, oh, how do you know? And then she's like, oh, because I just had my shot and that's what they ask. I'm like, okay. But then I talked to some other woman who said she works at Johnson & Johnson. And so she knows all about the vaccines. So yeah, I was getting lots of information at the speed dating. Nadia says, hola, muy bien tu español. Muy bien. See, I'm going to mix this up with my French accent. Hola, muy bien tu... How come it looks like French? Those are French words. I pretty much speak Spanish, I guess, if you speak French. When I was in Chicago once, I was reading a poster that was in Spanish, and I read the whole thing, and I understood it, and then I'm like, I don't speak Spanish. But, it's so close to other stuff, so it's kind of, you can just guess. Haha, yes, PhD kind of doctor. So yeah, so you're like Jill Biden, like doctor. Like you're a doctor, but if somebody on a plane was yelled, help, we need a doctor, you'd be like, oh, thank you, Jill. You're going to, tell us how we should defund the police or something, like that kind of doctor. That's not like a medical doctor. She's like a social sciences doctor. I should have got it. Maybe I should still get a PhD so I can be a doctor, like just in some nonsense, like doctor of screenwriting, or I just saw an ad on Instagram for like, come get a PhD in diversity and inclusion. No, it's a very serious and important thing. I'm not laughing. Okay, well, but you're in lab coats, Nadia. Like, aren't you doing something medically? You're not doing Jill Biden kind of doctorish stuff. Actually, okay, here's a funny story. So, my parents don't like me posting anything on Facebook, and then yesterday my dad was like, he saw my post. I said I was going to the hospital. He's like, so why were you posting on Facebook about that? Why didn't you ask your parents? And I'm like, well, are you a doctor? And he's like, ugh. He got really mad. But then a couple of minutes later, he's like, actually, yes, I am a doctor. But he's a doctor of education. So again, not relevant to my hand. And, I would ask them for help if I needed, but I mean, I don't want their opinion on whether I need stitches on my hand because they have no idea. Why would they have any more idea than I have? Right? Like, okay, they're older than me, but so, I mean, at this age, my dad, I was doing the math today, actually, trying to figure out how old. Anyways, I think my dad was 26 when he had me. So that means I was like 22. I was 22 when my dad was my age. If I'm my dad, I have a 22-year-old son, which blows my mind. But anyways, if I was on track, if I had a kid with Jan, I should have. Can you imagine? God, I'd be a grandpa now. How fun would that be? Whoa, but I got to have the fun single life. Really? Have I? Have I done anything? Have I done anything in the past 26 years? Or whatever? No. Okay, so what was my other thing I was going to say? I don't know. Yeah, so anyways. So let's say a 22-year-old son of mine, or when I was 22, had hurt my hand. Like when my dad at my age, like what I know, I don't know what I'm saying, but I just don't think that they've learned anything in the past few years about hand stitching that I wouldn't already know. Anyways, Sharice Augustin is watching. Hello. And then Nadia Ayala Lopez. Wait, I'll say it Spanish accent-wise. Or Mexican. You said you're Mexican. Nadia Alaya Lopez. See, Spanish people or Mexicans have long names. Like, I met this girl in Miami. What was her name? I stayed at her house. And it was it's Ana Maria something Lopez. Like, there's a lot of names there. Anyways, I work on lab medicine. So if someone needs a test done on a plane, I guess I could do that. Oh, okay. All right. So if I'm on a plane and I'm like, test my blood. I need to know if, I'm allergic to gluten or if my kids are going to be smart or something. Yeah, so here's a question. Because they asked me in the doctor's office, they're like, do you have any allergies to medicines or whatever? And I was like, normally I say I'm allergic to aspirin. But the only reason I say that is because when I was like in grade 13, I took a cold medicine once and my eye swelled up. It was like, and I was like, And then I decided, I don't know why, but I decided that it was the cold medicine and it was like cold medicine with aspirin in it. And so I've never taken aspirin since and just assumed that was the problem. But I don't know, maybe it wasn't. So I feel like I should take an aspirin just like to test. But today I didn't even say it was aspirin because I'm like, I always get into it because like any medication, I'm like, well, in grade 13, I tell the whole story. I'm like, I don't know that I'm allergic to aspirin. Why am I telling them this story? And what if they want to give me an aspirin? Maybe I should take it. And if I'm in the hospital, maybe that's the best place to take it. Like, cause then I could say, see, I told you I was, I wouldn't tell. They wouldn't give it to me if I told them. Anyways, so if you could, maybe you could test me for allergy at aspirin. Because I did take an allergy test a while ago because I was having so much congestion and this ENT sent me to get a test. And I didn't test positive for anything. I guess they didn't scratch me with aspirin. But they did all the tests, and then the only thing I was allergic to was, it sounded something like Harry Potter. What was it? It was like Potterweed or something. And I should get the records of that so that if anybody ever asks, it was a certain weed. But I wasn't really allergic to anything, so that was fine. And then one time when I was at work, my throat started swelling up and I couldn't breathe, and I ran outside to a cab Or I got a cab and went to the hospital. I'm like, I can't breathe. And I'm on the floor and I'm like, oh, I can't breathe. And that was it. And I never found out what it was. So that was weird. I'm like, what did I eat? And I was trying to trace it back for the whole day. So just sometimes weird things like happen like that, like with me. And I think Kathleen took me to the hospital a couple times. One time I thought I was having a heart attack. And the other time I think it was maybe a I can't breathe situation again. But then I go 10 or 12 or 15 years with nothing. So who knows what's going on. But that's why it's good to have a wife. Because then you can be like, hey, I can't breathe, take me to the hospital. But if you don't have someone, then what do? Like my uncle, every time he gets like a medical test or a kidney stone or something, and then they say you're supposed to be with someone for a day just to monitor you, I go stay at his apartment because he doesn't have a wife or anything. So that's sad. But I'm going to have a wife by the end of the year. I don't care. It's kind of like musical chairs at this point. Like when you're young, you get your choices. But when you're older, you're like, who's left? Who's around? Who's divorced? Who could tolerate me? Who wants to marry a bald Jewish man? I had a funny thing at the speed dating last night. What did I say? They were talking about, I don't know, oh yeah, I think one girl came in after one of the dates. She's like, he asked me, have you ever been with a black guy? And we're like, oh, that's so rude. But everybody's saying, well, Josh, you should date Mercedes, the co-host, like the host. And then I was like, hey, have you ever been with a bald Jewish man? And it was funny. I got some good laughs. Anyways, did I tell you? They asked me, so last night I co-hosted the Atlanta event, and then they texted me today asking if I'm available to host the Atlanta event next Wednesday. So I'm going to be the main guy. I'm going to be like greeting everyone and whatever. So if everyone could sign up at the link on my page, even if you're not single, sign up and it'll show that I brought people, and you can just meet people. Like there's people that aren't necessarily single there, and it's just networking and it's fun, and there's not that many people that come to the Atlanta event. There was only 27 people today, so it's not overwhelming, and it'll make me look good. So if you could all do that, I would appreciate it. I give you these free nightly summaries, and I don't ask much. I don't ask much. Is that the song by whatever Neville? But I know, no, it's like, I don't know much, but I know I love you. I don't know much, but I know I love you. That may be all I need to know. That doesn't make any sense. Those lyrics make no sense. So, by the way, I know people were messaging me to tell me that Tom Green is in Ottawa, and he went and filmed himself eating a shawarma, and everybody said, it's your shawarma place. But I watched the video, and then I was like, yeah, Shawarma King, isn't that where I go, on Bank Street? But then I looked at the map, I'm like, oh no, I go to Shawarma Palace on Bank Street. It's a different shawarma place. But I'll have to go try Shawarma King. But I watched his video, and he was just like going up to people in the street, telling them about his shawarma, and then he was sitting in his live-in van eating the shawarma. I'm like, I could be doing this. It's ridiculous. Why am I not doing this? And it's so funny, because he's doing the exact same nonsense, like just interviewing people that he was doing when he was like 20, and he was doing his cable show in Toronto, and I was 20, and I was doing my cable show in Ottawa, and now he's here, when we're both the same age again, still, and he's in Ottawa, and he's eating shawarma, and so am I, except he has made feature films in Hollywood, and married Drew Barrymore in the meantime, and I haven't. But what have I done? I've run for mayor. I was on Come Date With Me Canada. I've interviewed celebrities on the red carpet. Some of those celebrities still look at my Instagram stories, I can see. And neither Tom nor I are married or have kids. So, you know what? Maybe we're in the same place. My mom asked me where he's staying in Ottawa. Like, is he staying with his parents? I'm like, I assume so. Maybe he's parked in their laneway. So here, all right, you know what? He's parked in his parents' laneway in Ottawa. He's eating shawarma and making vlogs about it. I'm in my parents' basement in Ottawa making vlogs about shawarma. So, came full circle. We both had community cable shows, and now here we are. So, hi, Tom Green, if you're watching this, which you're not, but hi. And then Liz Balajay says, shout out, sir. Be safe every day. Thank you so much. I feel like all Filipinos go to the same English school, because everybody messages me and says, be safe every day. Take care every day. Which is what they say when they see that I've injured my hand, so that's very sweet. And I like that I don't know, I don't really like that they call me sir, because it makes me feel old, but on the other hand, why not? I'll be sir. I mean, I was watching some clips of, like, today on Instagram, clips of people's first movies, and then the first one was Leonardo DiCaprio in Critters 3, and he was standing there and talking to a little boy, and he was like probably, I don't know, 13 or something, and then the little boy was there, and then the little boy's sister runs up and goes, "Stay away! You stop touching him," or something like, "I don't know who you are. You're a creep. You whatever." But so even when you're 13, you can be sir to somebody smaller, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean you're old. It just means you're a man. I mean, what are people going to say, ma'am? I mean, people haven't thought I was a girl since I was 13 when I had my long curly red hair and beautiful soft face and beautiful features. Ah, well. Ah, well. Okay, so it's after midnight now. You should all be asleep. I should be asleep. We got to get up early tomorrow and be productive. Gloria Francisco says, "Always safe, sir." Yes, you've just proved my point, Gloria, in regarding Spanish names and regarding be safe always. So thank you, but I will try to be safe. And knowing that ow, I just bumped my hand with my other injury here. That hurt. All right, and look, so I'm not even following your advice about being safe. So, all right, I'm going to take my melatonin now. I'm going to listen to the Ben Shapiro show because I didn't listen to it today because two reasons. I find, because it's not really necessary. Like some of the shows I listen to YouTube training or how to make money things. And I'm like, those are things I should pay attention to. Like if I listen to it as I'm falling asleep and I miss half the show, then it's not really useful. But if I listen to the Ben Shapiro show, for me, it's like kind of brain candy. It's like I like listening to it, I like learning, but I don't need to hear it. So if I fall asleep during it, that's fine. And also, the YouTube shows I learn, but I'm not enjoying it as much. Ben Shapiro, I love listening to. So I'm like, I left it tonight. I didn't listen to it on the run because I'm like, I'm going to look forward to, I want to listen to it before I go to bed. That'll get me to go to bed and listen to it. But also I should be doing my own political little chat videos because I have my own thoughts about all of this. And to me, I just assume, everybody knows this and everybody understands what's going on in Israel or understands why, my thoughts on Black Lives Matter or defund the police or all this stuff. But not everybody knows about things, and I got to remember that. And not everybody knows, what I know, and a lot of people want my opinion. They want to learn from me, so I should be rambling on YouTube about it to teach people. So I'll start doing that. Or if you guys have any questions, you can ask me while we're live. But that's it. So we're all going to sleep now, and I'll see you on the big Friday. And maybe I'll finally post some videos tomorrow, and I'll get to that interview with Brandy from a month ago, and then I can start doing some more interviews. Because, even Mercedes last night, she's got blue check marks on Instagram and Twitter, and she said I can interview her. So we're going to get a blue check mark interviewee for the podcast soon. So, all right. Good night, everyone.